Modern-wa and welcome to Ireland AM on Virgin Media 1. It is Tuesday, the 15th of August.
What did you say there?
I said Modern-wa, good morning.
Oh, there you are now.
There we are. You're learning.
I'm learning. Shiva's teaching me Irish every day now. I'll get a word a day, Shiva. And you're back with us today.
Yes.
So we didn't frighten you off yesterday.
Can't keep me away now, no.
Well, just the two of us today, so I'll be learning more Irish today. So let's have a look at what's in store for us this morning.
New research has found that 65% of families have a favourite child, even though they might not admit it. We'll be discussing the effects of the favourite child later this hour.
Are you a favourite child?
I might be.
Oh, now look at this. Now, does going back to school mean going back to bullying? We'll be getting advice about what to do if your child has been the victim of bullying in school.
Plus, Jennifer Rock, the skin nerd, will be here with her essential guide to post-holiday skincare, and she'll be taking your skin-related questions too. So if you do have a query for Jennifer, you can text us on 089 611 111.
And Deric is in Waterford City this morning. Deric, it looks like it's a beautiful morning there in Waterford. What have you got planned for us?
Yes, Al, they don't call it the sunny southeast for nothing. What a glorious start down here for the Daisha County. I've got the blue and the white on of Waterford here this morning. It's a dry and settled one out there today, and in fact that sunshine winning out as the day goes on. So a little bit of good news as we kickstart here Tuesday morning. Anyway, the Waterford Walls Festival kicking off in full swing at the moment. We've got 30 artists representing 16 countries from right around the world. So we're going to be taking you on a mural tour of the city later on this morning. We're going to kick off with our first one. Take a look there, guys, just across the river shore. Lovely blah. Do you know what a blah is, guys?
I do.
The bread, yeah.
The blah.
The blah.
It's
the
protected,
bread.
yeah.
Oh!
Every day is a school day here on our day. Agus Shiva Fikar Riker Shin Toshiga Hintach Naka.
Up to Daisha. Sinead.
I hear I'll just leave the two of you at it, will I?
Sorry,
I'll just
Alan.
leave the two of you at it. Thank you, Deric. We'll be looking forward to that. That looks just a beautiful morning
Deric.
in Waterford.
Now, let's go over to the Virgin Media News Hub. Here's Aisling Roche.
Thanks, Shiva. Good morning. An investigation is underway after the body of a woman in her 50s was discovered in Limerick last evening. Emergency services were called to the house in Temple Green in Newcastle West at around 5 o'clock yesterday. The scene has been preserved for a technical examination. A post-mortem is expected to be carried out later today and will determine the course of the Garda investigation. Former US President Donald Trump has been charged with attempting to overturn his 2020 election loss in the state of Georgia. The Fulton County District Attorney brought 13 counts against Trump and his associates, including forgery and racketeering. Trump and 18 others have been indicted in a 41-charge document issued by a grand jury. It marks the fourth time that Mr. Trump has been criminally charged this year. He has denied all the accusations in all cases.
Specifically, the participants in association took various actions in Georgia and elsewhere to block the counting of the votes of the presidential electors who were certified as the winners of Georgia's 2020 general election. The indictment alleges that rather than abide by Georgia's legal process for election challenges, the defendants engaged in a criminal racketeering enterprise to overturn Georgia's presidential election result.
The number of dead in the Hawaiian wildfires has increased to 99 as the recovery operation continues. The number of missing people now stands at over 1,300. Governor Josh Green said it could take up to 10 days to learn the full toll. He also warned that recovery crews are likely to find 10 to 20 victims per day as they search charred homes.
The devastation is unimaginable, and residents here on the island of Maui will not only be asking themselves how will they recover, but also why did this happen. Experts believe that global climate change set the stage for the hurricane-driven blazes that ripped through the historic town of Lahaina last week. Climate change is not the direct cause of the wildfire, but it did contribute to creating the conditions that helped the fire spread so quickly and with such deadly results.
So you have dry vegetation, that is, when there's a spark, it's easier for that vegetation to ignite and for the wildfire to spread. Climate change in many parts of the world is increasing vegetation dryness.
Scientists are warning that in years to come, more communities will likely experience wildfires.
Maybe not in the next decade, but over the next 100 years, wildfires in areas where we traditionally have not thought of wildfires happening, the incidence may increase.
Here in Lahaina, the reality of this threat is all too clear, with the climbing death toll making this the deadliest wildfire in the US in more than a century. Hannah Lamas, Virgin Media News.
The Taoiseach paid tribute to the victims of the Omagh bombings on the 25th anniversary of the attack. In a statement, Micheál Martin called it one of the most brutal atrocities ever witnessed on this island. In 1998, just 4 months after the signing of the Good Friday Agreement, a car bomb exploded in the centre of the town, killing 29 people. It was the single greatest loss of life in the Troubles. The Minister for Finance has said the upcoming budget will be cost of living focused. Michael McGrath told Virgin Media News that even though inflation is falling, prices are still high, causing hardship for many people. The Minister defended measures already put in place by the government to help the public cope with the cost of living crisis, but insisted there is more to come.
I think the budget will be a significant help to people. We are working on a package of measures. The budget is still 8 weeks away, so there's a lot of work yet to do. But I think we have demonstrated good faith as a government in trying to help people as best we can. So far we've brought forward about €12 billion of additional measures since the beginning of last year aimed at helping households and helping businesses. So there is more to come, and we need the time and space now just to work through the details and to finalise it over the next 8 weeks. But the work is now actively underway.
We compare 14 insurance quotes to get you the best deal. So choose chill and work smarter, not harder.
Karen Millamach, Joe, and a very good morning. We're broadcasting live here from the heart of Waterford City Centre. We're just along the banks of the River Suir here this morning, and coming up later on this Tuesday, we're going to be taking you on a tour of the Waterford Wars, the festival in full swing at the moment. So that's all to come in and around 9:45, pardon me, a little bit later on this morning. So do hang with us for that. Now, let's take an opening look at weather together with Mark Armstrong with us on cameras, and the sunny southeast certainly living up to its name here this morning. A gorgeous start down here in Waterford City and elsewhere. In fact, most of you waking up to a lovely bit of sunshine out there now this 15th of the month, albeit some light showers there in across central Cork into North Kerry as well, but elsewhere holding fine, steady and settled now as we edge our way into your breakfast time. Now right across today, in fact, we will see some light scattered showers across your Tuesday into this afternoon. Sunshine winning out, showers becoming a lot more isolated as the day goes out. So a pretty decent one out there today. Good sunshine right up and down the country. Top temps of around 17 to 21 degrees, and those light to locally moderate west to northwesterly breezes. And across into tonight then, it will be mainly dry in Cams. Those winds taper back. Elsewhere some light scattered showers, but certainly another misty, another foggy night in store to take us through tonight into tomorrow morning, with overnight lows no lower than 8 to 12 degrees. So that's how it's shaping up here in a sunny and settled Waterford City at the moment. Behmi Biorish are 7:35.
Chill Insurance work harder so you can work smarter. We compare 14 quotes to get you the best deal.
Time now to take a look at this morning's papers, and we're starting with the Irish Times and its headline: Planners reject appeals against new tax on vacant sites. Many of the biggest real estate investors in Ireland will soon face on Bord Pleanála's ruling on hundreds of appeals against the 3% surcharge for not building homes on their sites, a measure designed to boost the housing supply.
Number of young adults living at home doubles in a decade. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. New figures from Eurostat show the scale of the housing crisis in Ireland, with 68% of Irish adults between 25 to 28 still living with their parents. It also found that young men are less likely to leave the family home than women.
The Examiner leads with 700 hospital cancellations per day. In the first 6 months of the year, around 127,000 procedures were moved. These deferrals have been blamed on hospital overcrowding.
1,200 teaching jobs vacant is the top story on the Daily Mail. School principals all across Ireland are scrambling to fill teaching jobs just weeks before the new term begins. Dublin is particularly affected due to the high cost of living, causing teachers to leave the capital.
The Mirror goes, we haven't told Aisling her sister is dead. The critically injured sister of Deb's crash victim, Dalava Mohammed, remains at Beaumont Hospital in Dublin, and she still doesn't know that her sister has passed when she woke from a coma asking for Dalava.
The Star also leads with the same story: where is my sister Dalava?
The Herald goes with tourist attack charge, boy weeps in court. A 17-year-old boy has been charged after an unprovoked, extremely violent robbery of an English tourist in Dublin's Temple Bar.
And finally, The Sun leads with Tubbs needs RTE more than RTE need him. Ryan Tubridy could struggle for work if RTE don't take him back. Ivan Yates has stated that he doesn't think foreign broadcasters will be lined up to hire him.
There you go. Now, coming up after the break, there's been calls for action after the latest Dublin city centre assaults.
We'll be discussing what can be done to tackle street crime next. Welcome back. Over the weekend, 3 more tourists were hospitalised in Dublin city centre following a vicious assault in Temple Bar.
Joining us now to discuss what can be done about Dublin's growing inner-city street crime is Alice Leahy, the founder of the Alice Leahy Trust, Temple Bar businessman Stephen Kennedy, and Brendan O'Connor, president of the Garda Representative Association. Good morning, all three of you, and thank you so much. Alice, you've been working in Temple Bar for 50 years in that area there.
Where does time go?
Where does the time go, indeed? And doing great work. What have you seen? What changes have you seen recently in the area?
Well, there have been a lot of changes. Of course, our city has changed. We have a bigger population. There's a huge drug problem. And I also, that sense of fear, and I often think the fear of crime is nearly worse than the crime itself.
And who's fearing it? The people who live there?
I think people who walk around and people don't like going into the city. And I hate saying that but it is a capital city and we're bound to have some problems. But I suppose what I find at the current debate, the assaults on tourists has highlighted the issues. And it shouldn't wait until it gets to an assault on a tourist. I mean, it is shocking that it happened. But I suppose the other thing I've been giving a lot of thought to recently, been around for some time, you begin to reflect on things. But do you know, in 1994, nearly 30 years ago, I sat on the Lord Mayor's Commission on Crime. And it was chaired by Judge Michael Murray Arty. And then in 1998, I was a member of the National Crime Forum, and that was chaired by Judge Brian McMahon, and we went around the country. We were talking about what we're talking about now. And it was interesting, and I quote from that report. I had to write it down because at this hour of the morning, you know, you could get your dates wrong.
Go on, tell us.
And one of the members of the report 30 years ago was that wonderful barrister, Paddy McEntee. And he said, what we said was, there's an abundance of research and reports, and we should not reinvent the wheel. And we saw little purpose in devoting our limited time to resources on work already done. They were looking at the problems that are still there. Now, I have to ask, our politicians come and go. There have been different Lord Mayor's commissions. There were several since that date even. And they're gathering dust. So why does nothing happen?
These reports that were commissioned are gathering dust and not being acted upon.
And if they were acted upon, I think we may not have the situation we have now, because I think we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater.
Okay.
And I would like to think it's not too late to do something, but it must be more than just writing more reports.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a problem with Garda resources because we're very lucky with the police force we have all over Ireland. You have people who trust the police. We need to have much more community Gardaí who can relate to people who are having problems. And I also don't like, tarring all communities with the same brush, or also saying because people are poor they commit crime. I know lots of people who were very, very poor and never committed crime. And we've got rid of youth groups, we've got rid of the Combat Poverty Agency, and I think it's time to kind of stop and have an honest discussion around what's happening.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. And Stephen, you're the leader of the Aston Key and Temple Bar Business and Residencies Group. How do you find your business has been affected by this rise in crime?
Yeah, well, that group has just been set up in the last couple of weeks. Okay. So it's 25 businesses and 3 resident organisations on Aston Key and in Temple Bar. And the reason that we decided to come together and work collectively on this issue is because it's such a significant issue for us. Open drug dealing on an industrial scale that is facilitated by organised gangs, and all of the street crime and the violent, vicious assaults that go along with that. And I think Alice made a really good point. The current approach is too reactive. We shouldn't have to wait until a tourist is beaten to it within an inch of their life for something concrete to be done. We need an anticipatory, proactive approach to this. And really what we're calling for as a group is a more visible Garda presence, is a dedicated cross-city unit with the specific objective of reducing street crime and reducing the open drug dealing that's taking place.
So Stephen, are you actually seeing outside your coffee shops there's actually drug dealing taking place in open daylight and nobody cares?
Yeah. So pretty much all day, every day, 7 days a week on the corner of Aston Quay. There's a bus stop across the road from my shop. There's a bus stop beside my shop. And all day, every day, people are dealing there. It's on an industrial scale. It's like an open market stall. People just walk on up, pull up, and they can get drugs. And then we see them using drugs, handing out drugs, smoking crack pipes. And it's not just outside my shop. It's right throughout Temple Bar.
So people then are congregating in that area and people know that that's where they can buy the drugs, so they're going to that area.
Like, it sounds so bizarre to say it, but that's exactly it. There are pockets and parts of Aston Quay and Temple Bar that are known areas for drug dealing, which almost at any time of the day or night, you can go there and you can buy drugs. And the mystery for us is, if this is so well known that there are parts of the city where you can score drugs at any time of the day, how is that allowed to continue? And we're really concerned about almost like a baseline level of acceptance now for drug dealing and drug use in the city centre. It's almost being ignored a little bit.
So, Brendan, as the president of the Garda Representative Association, how are the Gardaí on the ground feeling? What are they experiencing at the moment?
Well, the Gardaí on the ground, as Alice and Stephen alluded to, they're the people that meet, we use this word stakeholder, they're the people, the citizens of Dublin, the victims of crime. We feel frustrated. We know that people are not happy with the service, but it's our members, we talk about these concepts like accountability, but it's our members who actually meet the people who have been let down with the service. It's our members who feel frustrated that they can't deal with these problems. It's our members that are working these unworkable systems. It's our members that are understaffed, under-resourced. So nobody, and it's our members actually who are on the receiving end of some of these vicious assaults. So we can empathise and understand exactly these issues to be discussed.
Brendan, can I just stop you there, Brendan? What are the unworkable situations?
Well, the
like the Gardaí are there, are the Gardaí not on the ground?
First of all, there's not enough Gardaí there.
Okay.
You see, frontline core policing units in the busy city centre districts like the C district and B district, Store Street, Pier Street stations, they've all been depleted. There are less guards now. And it's interesting hearing Alice talk about 25 years ago or 30 years ago. I was a young guard 25 years ago in the city. There was problems. There always is problems in every city centre. We were put on our beats. There was guards in North Earl Street, on Talbot Street, Temple Bar, Dame Street, Grafton Street, all of them places were posts. There was a guard put there, you had your radio, you had a pro-arrest policy, you called on the radio, a van came, took the prisoner away, processed him, and you were left on your beat.
And why is that not happening now, just because of lack of guards?
First of all, we don't have the people. Second of all, the most simple incident requires so much bureaucracy and paperwork and form filling and box ticking that the guards, if they get involved in any interaction with the public or a suspected offender, are tied up for hours and hours using systems, gathering data. You'll hear the official response to any of these interviews or any queries is statistics, how many patrols were carried out, how many... The organisation obsessed with computers and ticking boxes.
So are you saying then that the way it was years ago, the way you could round up a group of lads, put them in the van and break, you can't do that anymore?
Well, first of all, the guards aren't there. A lot of the time now, I'm hearing even situations where guards are looking for vans to come and arrest. There's no vans available. The oversight and the management of the criminal justice system seems to have failed spectacularly to deliver the most fundamental requirement, and that's to keep the citizens feeling safe and a perception of safety. The guards aren't on the streets, and the guards who are on the streets aren't being used as effectively as they once were.
And what about this new 10 million that magically appeared from the Minister for Justice then? Is that going to help?
Well, first of all, we're told there's 10 million, but extra. But when we're in negotiations with Garda Management, we're told there's already a 22 million overspend. So that's really reducing the overspend by 10 million. There's no extra. And there's no extra Gardaí. What we're saying with 10 million overtime is not a solution. We're saying to the burned out guards who are absolutely put to the pin of their collar, working in that harsh environment, saying, by the way, your arrest is approaching. Would you like to give up your rest and come in and do more work? It's not sustainable. It's not a solution. It will maybe a sticking plaster, but it is not the solution to the problem.
And can I just ask you, Brendan, about the story that came out yesterday then about 3 guards being sent home from Templemore for having tattoos? Like, you're speaking about the need for more Garda, but they're sending people home for having tattoos.
Yeah, it's very frustrating for us as an organisation to see 3 people sent home. Very disappointing for the individuals involved. We believe that perhaps we need to look at this policy. Tattoos are part of modern culture. Everybody has them. I don't believe that if they're not intimidating, and they can be either, if they must be concealed, they can be concealed, or find a solution. But it would appear possibly that the organisation is out of step with the evolution of culture.
Just very quickly, Stephen and Alice, like, if the things don't improve, what's going to happen in Temple Bar? What's going to happen to inner city businesses, and people will just stop going in?
Well, I think we have to fight very hard to make sure that things do improve. Like, the city needs a heartbeat. It's really important that businesses and people living and trading in areas with high rates of antisocial activity are supported. Certainly a number of businesses that I've been speaking to, and that's people who've been trading for 10 and 15 years, are considering whether or not they will renew their lease when it comes up for renewal. And that will just be so disappointing if the city becomes hollowed out, if we start seeing vacant units in places like Temple Bar and Aston Quay, because people just don't have confidence in the city. And the city is wonderful. It's a fantastic city. We're lucky to have it. It's full of history and culture. We've cafes, bars, galleries, restaurants, parks. We need to get that back. We need to give that back to the people of Dublin, to the tourists, to the people working in the city. And I really think that the Minister for Justice, the Assistant Commissioner for the Dublin Metropolitan Region need to be all over this. We need action, and we need it fast, because businesses and people are struggling.
Well, Alice, and I'm sure you'll agree with everything like that, like for 50 years being in, it must be very sad for you to see the way the city has gone at the moment.
But I think we have to be positive, and I believe in being positive.
That's true.
But can I give you a quote? It's from a Scottish poet of 100 years ago. A statistic is like a drunken man leaning against a lamppost for support rather than illumination.
There you go. We have to end on that. Thank you so much, Alice Leahy, founder of the Alice Leahy Trust, Stephen Kennedy, leader of the Aston Quay and Temple Bar Business and Residents Group, and Brendan O'Connor, president of the Garda Representative Association.
Thank you very much
for joining us this morning. Thank you.
You're very welcome back. Now, for a look at the stories making the news, we are joined by Irish Examiner's political correspondent, Paul Hosford.
Good morning to you, Paul. And we're going to start with this story that the number of young Irish adults still living at home has almost doubled in a decade. Now, I know we've spoken about this and there's a lot of reasons, but the statistics are really startling.
Yeah, this is really stark. It's a Eurostat figures that came out yesterday that show that 68% of Irish people between 25 and 29 still live at home. That was 32% 10 years ago. And if you look at countries like, if you look at the Nordics, if you look at countries in Central Europe, it's way, way lower. And I suppose one of the big things for me in reading this story is they've gone to a psychiatrist and they've said, is this a generational shift? Is this something that we're just changing, that we stay home longer, that, you know, in Italy it's become custom and practice that one of the adult children will stay at home more or less long term. Is this just something that we're changing? Is that because, look, if that's the way we've gone as a culture, grand. And the answer is no. This is not about cultural shift.
It's about not being able to afford to get a home, to go out and rent a home.
Yeah, and then you look at some of the things that are mentioned for the budget. They're talking about potentially increasing that renter's tax credit to €800. You know, I think a lot of people were very thankful for the tax credit. It was very easy to get. You know, you're still looking at about 40% of people who haven't claimed it, but it's kind of tinkering around the edges. What people want is affordable rent. What they want is to be able to see that track from going from being a renter to being a homeowner, and that doesn't really exist for a lot of people. If you're paying €1,200 or €1,300 a month in rent, it's very hard to save to buy a house, and that's a real problem. So people are being forced to stay home longer if they want to buy a house. That's the other thing. People in urban centres have that. I suppose if you live in Cork or Dublin, and your work is close, your friends are close, you have that option of kind of staying at home and saving, but renting is something that would knock you back a couple of years.
When you are at home, you are saving, and that's the thing. 40% of people not not applied for that grant?
Yeah, I suppose there's various reasons for it. Some landlords aren't registered with the RTP.
Yeah, we did discuss that.
Some people,
yeah, we did discuss that.
At the end of the day, it's a huge lack of supply. I'm looking for a house at the moment, and you get one posted every 2 weeks. It's just, we could talk about that all day, but let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the next story, which was written by yourself, Paul, in the Irish Examiner, about 700 hospital cancellations per day. So deferrals blamed on hospital overcrowding. So the first 6 months of 2023, over 120,000 procedures were cancelled, over 20,000 of them within the children's health group. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so these are figures that were released to Sinn Féin's David Cullen, and 127,000 hospital procedures. These are mostly new outpatient, returning outpatient procedures and appointments that have been postponed. Now, the HSE says, look, a postponement doesn't mean that it doesn't, or a cancellation doesn't mean that it doesn't go ahead, that there is still a kind of a level of care there. What patients groups and what doctors are saying to me is, yeah, look, they do go ahead, but if you're constantly relying on cancellations as your go-to, if a cancellation is your answer to overcrowding, then all you're doing is kicking the can down the road. You're creating problems for yourself down the road, and you're deferring that care.
And how are we looking compared to last year?
Last year, so the HC says that, look, it's hard to do a like-by-like comparison. There was 170,000 tracked last year. But they say that the data there is kind of, it's a bit incomplete because it only started in January, and the kind of teething problems there. But if there was 170,000 tracked last year, we're at 170,000 for the first 6 months of this year. The Irish Hospital Consultants Association told me yesterday that you're looking at, between outpatients, what's tracked here in the kind of scheduled care, and then the inpatient operations that aren't tracked in the same way, that you're looking at about a quarter of a million procedures, operations and appointments cancelled.
A quarter of a million, 250,000 procedures could be cancelled by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Like, it's just incredible. And I suppose, like, OK, the HSE are saying, like, it doesn't mean they were cancelled, it means they were moved. But you got your date, you got your letter saying you were going, so you took your week off work or your day off work, or you arranged childcare, and then suddenly you get another letter saying, sorry, that's cancelled. So you have to go back and rearrange everything again. I suppose that's the hassle in that as well. And then delays in procedures that might have a knock-on effect as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the points that patients groups are making, is that, look, there are people who need to get these diagnoses, they need to get these procedures, they need to have these appointments, and if you're knocking it down the road, you could be impacting their level of care.
Yeah. Now we're moving on to, and we were talking to Brendan O'Connor there just a little earlier, the Garda Representative Association President, and this is 3 Gardaí who made it all the way to Templemore and then were told, oh, you have a tattoo, off you go, on your bike.
Yeah, this is
it's crazy.
Yeah, and especially when you think of the context of the last discussion that you had, you raised, Shiva, we're crying out for more Gardaí, and you're making it more difficult for Gardaí to pass through or to get through Templemore. The guard who's in the Independent today, he has a tattoo of a lion on the back of his hand. He says it's dedicated to his son who was battling a rare kidney condition during COVID, that he has gone for plenty of meetings, that it's about an 18-month process to get into Templemore. He's met with senior Gardaí, he's done the interviews, nobody's raised it. The rule...
It's in the rule book, seemingly, but as you said, he's 18 months. This has now been... He's got to 18 months to get to Templemore, and nobody said, see that on your hand, you might have to get that removed.
Yeah, and the rule says that, anything visible above the collar. So he figured that he would be all right wearing a cover. So he figured he'd be OK wearing a cover to cover that up. And
seemingly one of the other officers had 3 stars at the back of her ear, which is quite not visible. I mean, we're crying out for guards. It gets to this stage, and 3 of them are sent home. Now, Brendan did sort of say that this needs to be reviewed, needs to be revisited, and we have to have a look at that, because that is just crazy, especially after 18 months to get to that
the process,
stage.
Now, quickly, we'll run on to one more story, and that is the top 10 most common phobias revealed.
What's your phobia?
I'm not afraid of anything, Alan.
Phobia?
Oh, ketchup.
Ketchup?
Ketchup, absolutely.
If I've got somebody bring in a bottle of ketchup immediately, go and get a bottle of ketchup. Look, he's actually going getting weak here.
Not for me.
He's gone pale.
I've got a toddler, everything he eats is with ketchup. Oh,
you can't stand it?
No.
OK, well, obviously
That's weirder than the top 10.
The top 10, heights.
Heights, clowns, dogs, enclosed spaces,
spiders, public speaking, snakes, enclosed spaces, going to the dentist. Obviously, all the ones that you know, but we were going to ask you to let us know, 089 611 111, what's your phobia? And now, can you beat
Ketchup.
Tomato ketchup. Please, somebody,
It's a funny one. It's a funny
bring
one.
in tomato ketchup.
We'll wait for the ketchup. But coming up, guys, most parents won't admit it. Thanks, Paul. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Most parents won't admit it, but a surprising number have a favourite child.
We're going to be discussing the impact that can have after the break. Where's the ketchup? Quick.
You're very welcome back. Now, most parents will deny it, but having a favourite child is much more common than we realise. In fact, it occurs in about 65% of families, according to new research.
Fave here, fave. Here to tell us more is psychotherapist and author Coleman Noctor. Good morning to Coleman. Thank you. This is fascinating. We were talking about this yesterday, and I was saying, surely parents would never actually admit it in front of people, I have a favourite child, or do they?
I think most people would avoid that question, or certainly an explicit answer. And I think the holy grail is for each of your children to all think they're your favourite child. I think that's parenting win. But in many cases, it's just a quirky thing within a family where people will have a discussion about, I think I'm the favourite, or whatever. But in other cases, it can be a bit more serious, obviously, when you have terms like the black sheep of the family or the golden child. And those dynamics do occur. And I've worked in child psychiatry for 25 years. And while it might not be said explicitly, I favour this child over that, their actions clearly suggest that mum spends X amount of time with this child and the other. They maybe have similar interests, they have similar interests in their own life, which means that they do more things together. So we usually weigh it up by the time spent or the levels of control. So you get away with things more. So I would have gotten more trouble for that than Alan did. So those are the kind of metrics we would use. But I think we have favoured aspects of each child.
But isn't this the thing that it's all subjective? Like, I know if me and my sisters told a story from our childhood, I would remember it quite differently to how they remember it. So is it not more of a personal perspective kind of thing, maybe, than a parent actually favouring a child?
Yeah, and again, it's how you interpret it. You know, so from the point of view of some people will describe themselves as I'm the black sheep of the family, whereas other people wouldn't maybe see them in that way. But the subjectivity of it is because it's not an exact science, you know what I mean, from that point of view. But I would say that, you know, these labels like middle child syndrome, oldest, youngest, they do, while they're generalizations, they do have an impact on people growing up. And certainly your self-worth and self-belief can be, if you are a favoured child or preferred child, that can come with a lot of pressure. You know, from the point of view of living up to expectations, you can't let the side down, you know, if you are kind of golden child. If you're growing up in the shadow of a golden child, it can be really difficult. You know, I remember one young person saying to me, like, what's the point in trying? I'll always be second, you know.
That's awful.
You know, from the point of view, and that does have an impact. You can carry that into our adult lives as well, you know. So while it's subjective and things that we can kind of make jokes about, sometimes it can have a more deep-seated impact.
What do parents do then? Because should they be actually checking themselves along the line going, no, I can't really be saying that because that might have a negative effect on the second child because the golden child, as you said, is there, gets all the attention on the second child, but they don't realise they're doing it. Do parents need to sort of sit back and check this?
Yeah, and I think I have lots of examples of parents who might come to see me and maybe they just, through habit, Dad spends a lot of time with the boy because he trains the football team, blah, blah, blah. But when we look at it, actually, there's very little time that Dad spends with daughter or whatever it might be. And it may, as I say, it's not conscious, but we have to hold a mirror up and say, you know, and it's not about equity. Like, it's not about, for example, somebody doing a leaving cert might need a special degree of leniency during that time. They might get extra attention. If someone's ill, they might need extra time. So it shifts, swings and roundabouts. But from the point of view of each child knows that when I need it, I will get it. Yeah. That's the important part. But we do have to be mindful that just habits can happen, that we have dad and son, mum and daughter, these sorts of things over time. And it is much better to dilute those if you can.
And how can this affect the relationship between siblings? I mean, does it impact that?
It does. Again, one of the most common things I hear parents say is they compare someone to your brother never did that, Alan. Or I've never in all my career seen that end well. Or I've never had a child turn around to me and go, the turning point in my life was when Mom said, I should be more like Alan. Because all it does is it gets her back up. It is. Totally. And again, it's the only benchmark we have because our other siblings are the only other benchmark we have. So why can't you be more like Shiva or whatever it might be? Doesn't end well. I would, as despite the itch to say it, I would think it's unhelpful. You know.
I mean, I just can't believe that parents would not realise that that's happening. But as you said, you just fall into, and I understand it, the father bringing off the young guy, the young lad to training, and so spending all that time, and maybe the mother doesn't have that time. So, I mean, is there the balance then? So what should the father do then when he comes home from the training? Is then to go and spend time with the daughter? Is that the thing? Yeah, or is it okay then that the mother spends so much time with the daughter?
Well, you don't want to create splits, you know, where there's twos and twos. So you do want to dilute it a little bit. And it's not about, well, at least I have one parent who likes me. It's much more about kind of splitting that up. But it will be, it's about similar interests. Like the idea of the favourite child is much more likely to be a child, but the most non-preferential child might have similar personality attributes. So if you have a fiery mom and a fiery daughter, they can sometimes clash because they're similar.
Tell me about it.
That. So from the point of view of, but usually the favoured and preferential child is either eldest or youngest. Unfortunately, our middle child in the research would suggest that they tend to. So it is important to kind of be equitable with our time and make sure that we don't create splits, for sure.
Okay.
As a middle child, I'm going to plead the fifth on this one. Thank you so much, Colin Noctor, psychotherapist and author, and you'll be back with us to discuss bullying a little bit later in the show.
Yes, and 0896 111 111. Are you the favourite child? Were you the child that you sort of felt that you weren't the favourite? Let us know, we'd love to know. Now, after 8, we're going to be discussing how to identify the signs of bullying, and as we said, you are staying with us for that, Coleman.
Plus, the Skin Nerd has tips on to treat your skin right, and we've got a sweet breakfast treat to stew overnight. We'll be back shortly.
See you in a few minutes. Time now to take a look at this morning's papers, and we're going to start with the Irish Times and its headline, Planners Reject Appeals Against New Tax on Vacant Sites. Many of the biggest real estate investors in Ireland will soon face on Bord Pleanála's rulings on hundreds of appeals for not building houses on their sites, a measure designed to boost the housing supply.
Number of young adults living at home doubles in a decade. That's the front page of the Irish Independent. New figures from Eurostat show the scale of the housing crisis in Ireland, with 68% of Irish adults between 25 to 28 still living with their parents.
The Examiner leads with 700 hospital cancellations per day in the first 6 months of the year. Around 127,000 procedures were moved. These deferrals have been blamed on hospital overcrowding.
1,200 teaching jobs vacant is the top story in the Daily Mail. School principals all across Ireland are scrambling to fill teaching jobs just weeks before the new term begins. Dublin is particularly affected due to the high cost of living, causing teachers to leave the capital.
The Mirror goes, we haven't told Aisling her sister is dead. The critically injured sister of Deb's crash victim, Dalava Mohammed, remains at Beaumont Hospital in Dublin. She still doesn't know that her sister has passed away when she woke from a coma, and she asked for Dalava.
The Star also leads with the same story. Where is my sister Dalava?
The Herald goes with tourist attack boy charged as he weeps in court. A 17-year-old boy has been charged after an unprovoked, extremely violent robbery of an English tourist in Dublin's Temple Bar.
And finally, The Sun leads with Tubbs need RTE more than RTE need him. Ryan Tubridy could struggle for work if RTE don't take him back. Ivan Yates has stated that he doesn't think foreign broadcasters will be lined up to hire him.
Now, lots of texts coming in from stuff we were talking about this morning. And Shiva, we were talking at 7:15 about those attacks in Temple Bar and continuing crime statistics around the country, and a lot of texts coming in. Do you want to start there with?
I will. So Mike texting saying the issues in Dublin city centre were there back in the 70s and 80s. There were no-go areas, well known. Nothing has changed, only gotten worse. So that's kind of like what Alice was saying this morning, you know, that the reports were done, then nothing has changed.
Yeah. Michelle, I work in the city centre and I travel by Lewis and I go straight into work. In the evenings, I go straight back to the Lewis. to go home. I never walk around on my own. It's so unsafe. There are so many drug addicts hanging around and intimidating people. I just can't understand how Helen McEntee and other ministers in Leinster House can possibly claim that Dublin is a safe city. They live in a whole different world.
Wow.
Well, I suppose Helen McEntee doesn't be around Dublin city centre every day and every night to see this.
No, she doesn't, I know. And look, there's lots of reports of that coming in. Moving on to our story about phobias. So earlier on, we were talking about the 10 most common phobias, and acrophobia, or the fear of heights, was ranked the #1 fear by 23% of people surveyed.
I've claustrophobia.
You've claustrophobia.
I've claustrophobia.
Okay.
Have you any fears?
I have this really weird fear of waxwork figures and mannequins.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like mannequins in the shop window?
Not so much there, but if I went to a wax museum, I'd freak out. I don't go to wax museums.
I was going to say, just don't go to wax museums and you'd be grand.
I'll stick to London Eye, not Madame Tussauds. Lots of funny texts in about this. Someone's daughter's phobia is ham.
She won't even hold a pack of ham.
A pack of ham.
I love that. Amanda, I have a phobia of cabbage. I can't bear to touch it or smell it. Just no. Ooh.
But what about a ham and cabbage dinner?
Oh, there you go.
Like,
bit of parsley sauce.
Oh,
there we go.
You're missing out. You're missing out, ladies.
My biggest fear is ice pop sticks, the wooden ones.
They're a bit icky. Like, they kind of give me the shivers, but I wouldn't say I have a phobia.
But it's just an ice pop stick. I was like, oh, OK. Keep those texts coming into us. What's your phobia? We had one earlier on as well about ketchup, tomato ketchup. Love that. 0896 111 111. Now up next, as school time fast approaches, we seek some expert advice on how to beat the bullies and rise above their bad behaviour.
We'll see you back here in a few. Fáilte Roche a Chorda. With the return of schools in the coming weeks, some students may be worried about returning if they are experiencing bullying from their peers.
Yes, joining us now to share his experience of bullying in schools is Chris Sherlock, and psychotherapist Coleman Octor has stayed on with us. Thank you both again for joining us, and thank you for staying around, Coleman. Chris, thank you for coming up and sharing this story with us. I mean, tell us when the bullying started for you and what kind of bullying was it?
Yeah, so in the first week of secondary school, it was literally on the cusp of transitioning from primary into secondary. And within the first week, I was subject to verbal bullying first. And as each day went on, it just got worse and worse. And then as we were kind of going in from the first week into the second week, the physical side of it started. So
when you say physical, in what way?
So you'd be in the school canteen or whatever, and even during classes, you'd be pushed and shoved against walls. Especially me, I was kind of the target. It seemed to be. I didn't realise anyone else was in the same position. I just noticed me in the moment, but just pushed and shoved. And and anytime you would be queuing for the canteen, you'd be skipped on purpose.
Yeah.
They'd push out of the way and kind of just elbow you, and they'd be asking you for money, trying to extort you, that type of thing, And then when it came to, going to class one day from lunch, well, I was actually on lunch break and it was just getting ready to go back to class. And I remember phoning home just to check up with things, in terms of getting books sorted for the school and that. And I remember on the phone, and all of a sudden I was grabbed by the shoulder, pushed against the wall, and before I knew it, a hand around my neck, choking me. And I was just completely paralysed with fear in that moment,
And why do you think, you said there that you felt you were targeted by week 3 in school, you were targeted. Why do you think you were pinpointed so early on?
You see, I was shy. I kind of had I had some friends follow with me from primary, but the problem was I was trying to fit in with other friends. I was trying to be impressionable myself. Yes. It was an all-boys school. We were trying to be impressionable on each other. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot going on for a 13-year-old, and that's happening, and that's... Back then, I wouldn't have realised it, but now when you look back on things, you're like, oh, wow, yeah, OK, there was a lot to deal with there with new school, new building, new teachers, new subjects. It's a whole different environment. So trying to fit in and try and make friends was... I'm naturally outgoing, but because of this, it took me to a stage where I wasn't as outgoing as I should have been. Yeah.
And it stays with you, doesn't it? Like, I was actually badly bullied in primary school, and I felt that it left long-lasting effects on me. Do you still feel the ripple of it to now?
Now it's not. No. I still get a little bit anxious on little things, but I think a bit of anxiety is good, in terms that you care about what you're doing and such like that. But no, but to the stage that I got was I couldn't be in a room. Like if I was in a room with, say, 5 to 10 people, that small numbers to anyone would be nothing. But I'd be looking at all the exits. I'd be paranoid with fear that if someone would be even beside me, like what Coleman is here, I'd be afraid now that he would just start picking on me back then, if it was the case. And I was like, OK, I need to know where the exits are and have a quick bolt if anything
if anything would happen. And did you tell family or friends that this was going on?
Well, as I was on the phone that particular day, I was talking to my mother and I was so paranoid that the phone call was still active, but they took the phone out of my hand and they flung it across from where I was. Thankfully, the call did disconnect because I didn't want them to know. I didn't want anyone to know. And when I eventually got out of that situation, I phoned them back and I covered it up because they did ask what happened. And I said, look, I just dropped the phone, the battery came out and fixed it real quick. You know, just quick fix, you know.
But you did tell them then?
Eventually afterwards, yes. So there was a second incident and I was basically going to class again after a big break. And it wasn't uncommon where kids would be loitering in the hallways or, you know, kind of on corridors. And it's an old style building that the school was. And basically there was a set of double doors on each corridor. And this was kind of the breaking point for me of it because I was trying to go through these doors and they kept pushing and shoving me. And this was a second group that would have known the other group, if that makes sense.
Right.
So it was probably a shared thing to pick on the new first year. And, you know, there was this thing years ago, and it still is to this day, sadly, I've heard recently that it's still happening, that first years get a first year beaten. You know, it's like a tradition.
And so when you did tell your parents and they went to the school, what was the reaction from the school?
They basically said that, you know, pinpoint who I could because these guys on the top of the stairs threw me down this flight of stairs. And I covered it up, but I was bottling all that up because, again, I didn't want to say it, but when I told them about it one day, I had basically a panic attack, which I didn't know at the time, outside the school gates, following a few days off, following this incident. And I was trying to get everything out in one go. And my parents, they were great. They calmed me down. We went back home. We talked it out, went to the school. School basically said, look, it's the consequences of being a first-year student. Yeah, this honestly,
oh my God.
This is what
so
they said.
the head teacher did say,
principal.
the principal of the school said, well, first years get bullied, basically.
Yeah. That's how bad it was. And my dad and my mum looked at each other in complete horror, and I was there shaking. And we were just talking about what was the next thing to do. I had some good time off afterwards, which was good for me for a bit, but I was getting bored. I wanted to go back to school, and I wanted to try and go back to school. But every time I did try, it just wasn't happening because the effects of all what had happened in school,
of course,
it just kept coming, and I was living with PTSD. Again, I didn't realise what that was at the time.
Yeah.
But I was seeing a teen psychologist and we went through the motions and I just never returned to school after that. I couldn't bring myself to do that.
Yeah, well, it does. It leaves, like I said, long-lasting effects. Coleman, I might come to you then. So, you know, we're in summer at the moment. The students are off school, but if people are in maybe a similar situation to maybe Chris was, they're feeling anxiety around going back to school and maybe facing the same problems. What would you recommend to parents to look out for if this is the case?
Yeah, just before that, I can tell you that safely say that at least 85% of the young people I see for therapy have had a history of bullying. If we want to do something about the mental health crisis in this country, we make a big initiative to end bullying. It is a huge contributor to that. So children who are being bullied will oftentimes, they might get angry with younger siblings. They get frustrated, they're irritable, highly covert, hiding the phone, similar to what Chris is saying. There's a great deal of shame involved in bullying. So the guilt of carrying that is that you don't want anyone to know. Oftentimes, intervention from parents, the fear is it makes it worse. You know, that you become known as someone who's a telltale or a rat or whatever.
That was the consequences of being the rat. That's what I was so nervous about, to make things worse for the bullying as time went on.
So it's not an easy fix. And if bullying was an easy fix, we would have fixed it by now. But from the point of view of, I don't think, unless it's resolved, it's not over. So if you're a parent of a child who's being bullied, persist until it stops.
But like, if a parent went to a school then and the principal sort of says, well, their first years everyone gets bullied, like, I'm sure then a reaction from a parent can maybe cause more problems because they might overreact. to a situation like that?
I think from the point of view of when you're advocating for your child, I think you have to persist. And if the answer you like, oftentimes teachers will say, "I will have a word with the class," and that does nothing in terms of affecting that. So you have to go higher. But from the point of view of being able to be in school and feel safe is not a luxury; it's a human right.
Yeah.
And so from the point of view of if you are a parent advocating for your child who's being harassed and bullied, you have rights there. You need to insist that they're followed through and that your child is safe in the environment.
And Chris, then you tried to go back because you wanted to go back. Like you're going to secondary school. It's what everybody wants to do. They want to be surrounded by classmates, friends, and stuff like that. So then, when did you decide that this was never going to happen again? I won't be able to go back.
It was pretty much straight away. Even though we followed on to try and get back into school for kind of the next term where we were at the time, and basically got ready. We found a new school. The option was to give me another school because I had the educational officer for Galway coming out to my house every week, and I had the schools trying to get me back into school, talking to my parents, and the pressures of that was getting to me little by little. And it was over time that I tried. I had the uniform, I had my book still. I was ready to go. Got to the school that particular day. I wasn't even in the first class. I just broke down again, had a panic attack, and I was trying to cover it up again because I was hoping this time would be different, but I just couldn't. Everything was red. And everything from the previous school was flashing before my eyes. I just thought, that's it. You know, I went home straight away. I just legged it. I was out of there as quick as I possibly could go, and I went home and I just said to my parents, look, I don't think I'm ready. We might try again, but I never did.
You never did?
No.
How are you now?
Great, yeah. It took a long time to get where I was. Like, most of my teenage years were affected by this. It took 5 or 6 years to go on. And it was through a youth advocacy service in Galway that helped me, you know, branch out and do things and do what I love to do. And basically, that's why I'm here today talking about this, because I reflected back on it recently. I wrote in a book that I was asked to do through radio. So I basically started college radio in Galway, and then found my passion for radio and broadcasting, like yourselves. And so I got asked to write in a book called Mental Health for Millennials with Book Club Publishing in Galway. And I found it therapeutic to write about the story, and then said, right, I actually want to do something positive with this story and help kids that are listening, because it's important to know that kids bottle this up, and they mightn't be. It's that stage to go and talk to the parents and talk to your teachers. There is stuff in place. The government have put in place new stuff last year, but are schools following it? You know, and are teachers following through with this stuff? So it's important that this gets a big stamp, like English and maths. It's vital that children's well-being.
Well, the book is there, and I'm sure you've helped an awful lot of people, and will continue to help an awful lot of people who are suffering this. And Coleman, as you sort of said, if parents see this, like, it's just a right to go to school and not be bullied. So parents, you should keep at the school until something is resolved. Listen, both of you, thank you very much for coming in this morning.
Perfect coffee every time. Tassimo sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Welcome back. This next dish will have you never skipping breakfast again.
Yes, Jennifer Carroll is here to make us an apple crumble overnight oats. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
This looks delicious here. Do you want to try some?
I absolutely do. I was waiting for you to offer to me.
There you go.
Prepared.
There you go. You can have that one. So how do we start with this then?
So we're going to start with stewing apples today. So I think stewing apples is actually a very underrated thing. My mum's always stewed apples, stewed rhubarb, and they're so handy, so easy to do. And so, like, you can use them in so many things.
But it was the old way of making an apple tart and everything like that. You got the,
lovely in a crumble. But I find it so handy for breakfast. And it lasts really, really well in the fridge. So if you stew your apple, keep it in a container in the fridge, you'll get nearly a week out of it, and you can throw it into desserts, throw it into...
So the apples won't go all coloured?
No, not once you stew them.
Oh, OK.
I mean, once you peel them now, you know, they're going to brown if they're oxidising, but once they're stewed, they're absolutely fine.
I love sticking some raisins in some stewed apples, a bit of sugar, some raisins, nothing like it.
And custard, that's a real old-fashioned dessert.
We were talking about We were sort of saying, send Jennifer to get custard, but you wouldn't really put custard in this, no.
Custard on crumble. That used to be my favourite, apple crumble.
Oh, absolutely gorgeous.
Custard on anything. So tell me a little bit about this. Say if I was to go have a gym session that day, major leg day session, how is this good for my protein?
So the protein is kind of going to be mainly in the yogurt. So with the overnight oats, you can use... I've made it before where I've done the blended cottage cheese and honey. Not everyone is a fan of that. That's a great source of protein. But natural yogurt, it's such an underrated source of protein. I feel like people forget how, obviously, if you're watching your calories, it's great for that as well. Low calories, high protein. And with the overnight oat, you can throw whatever you like in it. Throw seeds in it, you know, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds. You can put all your fruit in it. But you can throw in a little bit of sweetener. You know, sometimes I'll put honey in it. The stewed apple is perfect for it.
So you basically to stew it, just put it in a pot.
So with the stewed apple,
you're
going to put... I use sweetener. So just to save on calories, I'll use sweetener. I have this granulated sweetener here. I put 2 tablespoons of this in, and then I love cinnamon. So cinnamon with the apple would be my favourite. I think it goes perfectly.
It does, yeah.
So a tablespoon of cinnamon.
I'm not mad about the cinnamon now.
Really? A pinch of cinnamon. I think it just kind of evens out the bitterness a little bit of the apple if they're quite sour.
A bit Christmassy.
And then 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of water.
Okay.
And then you're just going to put it on a high-medium heat, leave it covered, give it a bit of a mix when you put all of your ingredients in there. But I've seen people stew apples, I've done it before, where you just chop your apple, throw it in a pot with a can of Diet 7-Up. Because Diet 7-Up will eventually evaporate and it's just the sweetener. So it's just a lower calorie option
fizzy,
again.
is it?
But just a can of Diet 7-Up and it'll evaporate.
It doesn't make them fizzy?
No, because it'll just have the sweetener. So the sweetener of the from the 7-Up will be left in it. And then
how long will that take now to
So I'd leave that for 3 or 4 minutes now, just to kind of get a little bit of heat.
All.
And then I'll give it another stir. And then you just leave it on a low heat, medium heat. Don't put it on a high heat because there's not a lot of water in it. But it will take maybe 10 to 15 minutes.
I just keep checking it.
Exactly. Now you can leave it a little bit longer if you want it very fine. But if you like it kind of chunky, 10, 15 minutes is plenty. And then the overnight oats is always the same kind of base. It's really simple. I usually use 30 grams of porridge oats. And again, you can make 3 or 4 of these at the weekend on a Sunday evening, pop them in the fridge, and you have your breakfast every morning, like you said, after the gym. Just grab it and go. And it's that's why they're so convenient.
Handy for the early mornings.
The early mornings, you can have it in the car.
So have you... the apples then are stewed and you put them into the bowl there.
So this is just the porridge.
No, but
I have so I have stewed apple that I've already made just because I knew this would take a little bit longer. So with the oats, when I'm doing the apple crumble, it's just a drop of milk, like 30 to 50 ml. It's just really to absorb the porridge oats. And that's always at the base. And then, like I said, you can throw in a few blueberries, you can throw in a few strawberries, raspberries, whatever it is you like. Sometimes I mix a few chia seeds in with it. And then if you just throw in the stewed apple.
And can I just ask, I don't really like cow's milk. Can you throw in any kind of milk you like?
Any kind of milk. I'd usually use almond milk. That's what I
What do you mean you don't like cow's milk? Are you allergic to it?
No, I just don't like it.
You don't like ordinary milk?
It's not a phobia now.
You don't like ordinary milk?
No, I don't.
So do you like, what kind of milk do you like?
Oat is my favourite.
Oat milk is horrible.
Oat milk is delicious, but is it weird?
The oat is lovely in the overnight. You could use water, though. It's just kind of to wet it, really. It doesn't have to be milk, but the oat milk, I have made oat milks at home with porridge oats.
I know, I've heard you can make it, you just squeeze it out.
So simple to me.
Yeah, I must try that.
And have you never liked milk?
No, I did used to like it. I used to have it with my dinner when I was growing up, you know, every day.
So then why suddenly do you not like it? So you've gone all posh and you want your oat milk
I'm a vegetarian now who doesn't drink normal milk. You've got me, Alan, you've got me. I'm a pretender.
So once you have your fruit on top of the porridge, you just cover it with your yogurt, any yogurt. I usually like the skyr because, again, that's higher in protein and it just keeps you that little bit fuller. The skyr yogurt.
Oh.
Skyr yogurt, it's just like a high protein. Or the quark, the flavoured quark. And then just to give it the crumble effect.
I was going to say. I
just sprinkle a little bit of lotus.
I came over to say hello to Jennifer earlier and she couldn't shake my hand because she had biscuits all
crumble and
over
biscuit.
them. Yeah.
I love those biscuits, dipping them in your tea.
They're lovely.
Which are actually cow milk.
Which are cow milk.
Here we go.
The real milk. And that's it then. Just pop your lid.
Simple as that.
Now, it only needs an hour or 2 in the fridge, but just for convenience, throw them in overnight and you'll have your
and
supply.
you could make a big dish of that.
A massive dish. I've done that before and then spoon it out. you know, if you're having it for the family. It's very handy if you loads of berries, loads of fruit. Yeah, loads
Jennifer,
of yogurt.
absolutely delicious. We're getting
so
through
good.
it here. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. So simple and and very healthy.
Very healthy.
Very healthy. Thank you so much. Now, after the break, the Skin Nerd shares her tips to restore your skin's glow post-summer.
Yes, stay with us. We'll be back shortly.
Perfect coffee every time. Tassimo sponsors cookery on Ireland AM.
Now, while people will often fixate on their pre-holiday beauty essentials, often the post-holiday beauty regime gets all forgotten about.
Yeah, from fighting pigmentation to nourishing the skin, Jennifer Roche, aka the Skin Nerd, is showing us how to treat our skin with some loving TLC. Good morning to you, Jennifer.
How are you? Convincing,
and you know what? It's always the same with me. I put the factor 50 on, but when I come back from holidays, I always have little marks or little pigmentation after coming out. And I've had it for years, but just when you're away, it comes out again.
Yeah, it's so true. So I think the reality is, whilst you're away, enjoy your holiday, soak it all up, just truly live for each day. But when you come back, the reality is the skin has been damaged. So the top layer of the skin tends to maybe potentially have changed colour slightly, whether it's pigmentation, whether it's a tan, whether it's red, whether you've had sunburn. But ultimately, your skin across the board will be what's called dehydrated. So how do you know you're dehydrated? Usually the skin just feels taut, tight. It almost feels like it almost feels slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah. Your little trick here.
My little trick, yeah, exactly. So essentially, you pinch your skin, or
pinch your
sometimes
skin.
it happens on your leg.
Pinch your skin. If it's mine springs back, I'm always amazed at how mine springs back.
It really, yours isn't. Actually, yours is quite hydrated most of the time, to be honest.
Yeah.
Or on your thigh, you'll see it. Even if you run your hand up your thigh, it kind of staggers through. So essentially, your skin is just void of water because of the extra sun damage. So inside out is always going to be our goal, and essentially, it's all about trying to get the goodness back into the skin. So first up, we have Skin Theory. It's their antioxidant tinted day cream SPF 30. This I genuinely love. First of all, antioxidants are key just to protecting our skin against the elements. So it doesn't matter if it's hail, rain, shine, or if it's in the sun. This will work for both on holiday and whilst you're home. But it's a beautiful, lightweight, moisturising day cream. Why I love it is that it has a beautiful tint to it. So when you put it on, it kind of gives
it nice,
takes,
isn't it? It
yeah,
gives you a bit of colour,
a bit of a dewiness, a bit of a glow. When you're coming back from
Therapy's own one, is
yeah,
it?
So this is becoming such a phenomenal brand, and they've put so much research into it. I have a lot of respect for what they've done with it, and this is quite clever. We were speaking before we came on air about how it has SPF and antioxidant, and it's a moisturiser. It's a lot in one.
So one product for all those things. Yeah,
exactly.
I love that.
And you know why I like it? Because the tint is kind of a slight cheeky tint. So when you're feeling a little bit like, you know, doom and gloom, perhaps behind the computer screen again, you look like you're back in the sun again. Now, pigmentation, as you mentioned, Alan, is often a lot of people's main arch nemesis when they return from holidays. How do you know you have it? Typically, if I look in the mirror after I come back from holidays, I get it in the most unattractive area, which is the upper lip. I mean, of all the places for a woman to get it, a lot of women will get it in the upper area because we're underlying, I suppose, there's a hormonal element from different medications we might have gone on over the years that will exasperate it. So we tend to get it on the upper lip or in the highest part of the cheekbone or into the forehead, basically where the sun hits the highest spot. So really treating your pigmentation is the goal. Now, I always say SPF 50, 365, that's always my goal, or SPF 30 and above 365. This is Ultra Sun's Face Anti-Pigmentation, SPF 50. It's really affordable, multifunctional. If you want to have a little try, you'll see that it's quite hydrating.
So this is to help the pigmentation now, even though when you're back, even though it has the factor 50.
Exactly. So it's going to keep you with your SPF, like we always say. It's got hexyl resveratrol in there. It's a very powerful antioxidant. Essentially, it's really nice and lightweight. Isn't sticky or tacky. Really easy to apply underneath makeup. You're wearing it, or if you're not. But ultimately, it's really tackling that blotchiness or those pigmentation marks that we're getting. So again, 2 for 1 in that you're really hydrating the skin, you're really protecting the skin, but you're really tackling your pigmentation. Now,
speaking then of hydration,
top to toe, something that's affordable. That's what we definitely want to do. So we have Boots. This is your Soap and Glory Original Pink Hydration Expectations. The name is glorious in itself, right?
Is that all Soap and Glory Hydrate Expectations body soap. There you go.
And it's a beautiful scent to it. Now, again, back to the fact that you feel that your skin can be a little bit parched. This is a beautiful, really easy. It's got a hyaluronic derivative ingredient inside it. Very easy. You can apply it all over top to toe, and it doesn't leave the skin sticky or tacky or anything like that. It's got a beautiful fruity floral scent. So I think when you come back, you're trying to reminisce about your holidays and get yourself back into that zone. Get those back in. But a genuinely beautiful body serum, very decent size, extremely affordable, and it's 72 hours hydration. Now, I've become a huge fan of these. Do you know what? I really am a big believer. So
I know you keep saying it. If you're putting stuff inside you, that's good. it will reflect in your skin.
And look, while we're away, again, we talk about the sun externally, but you know yourself, you're having a tipple or two, the diet might not be as it is when you're number 4 or 5 or 6. But it's all about getting that hydration inside out. So essentially, these are a very quick and active way. Now, these are created by pharmacists. This is your ORS hydration tablets, really affordable. And essentially, it's all about rehydrating inside, but they've actually made the guidelines in line with the WHO. So it's all about the World Health Organization, what they say are the correct levels of electrolytes to get in.
Okay.
So you have your blackcurrant, your strawberry, your orange, really easy for
But the
kids
orange is actually lovely.
It's really delicious, extremely fresh.
So
it has
with
glucose,
the nutritional values.
Exactly.
Okay,
So
so
I actually glucose, your salt, your electrolytes in there. So essentially, literally, as the name says,
when I go away, I
inside.
try to bring these with me, just to every morning, just wake up and have one.
And when you, so I'm definitely a fan of away, and while I'm home, and then I mean I'm back in the gym trying to get myself ready to feel healthy about myself. Definitely post gym, post
Very
exercise.
quickly, this last
thing. So we always want to fix our makeup, whether we're in the heat or whether we are home. This is your number 7 Hydra Illuminous Fixing Mist, 100ml, really decent size, arm length, spray, 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 and it really fixes your makeup if you're applying makeup, and it really hydrates the skin throughout the day. So again, you're coming home looking a little bit more prune-like, and it's getting slightly more dehydrated. This is just a nice shot of hydration onto the surface of the
If
skin.
your skin is prune-like, there you go, you'll be sorted. Jennifer, you're staying with us?
Yes.
Because we, as always, when you're here, we get so many questions in from our viewers. And remember, if you have any skin conditions, you should always consult your doctor also.
Still to come this morning, Jennifer will be sticking around to answer your questions and provide her dermal do's and don'ts.
So if you have any questions, you can text us now on 089 611 111. Anything, you'll answer them all.
In all honesty.
In all honesty. We're going to take a quick break. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
The shocking wildfires across Hawaii have ripped through the picturesque island, leaving many houses and businesses burned to the ground.
And we're now joined by Clonmel native Mikey O'Dwyer, who owns the local Irish pub Mulligan's in Maui. Mikey, thank you so much for joining us this morning. How are you? Can you hear us, Mikey?
I can.
Mikey, first of all, we thank you so much for joining us, and we have to ask, how are you and your family? Is everyone safe?
My family is safe, thank God, and they went back to school today, my kids. They did volunteer on the weekend at one of the shelters to get a dose of reality and for them to see what is actually going on our island and what people are suffering and the hardships that everybody is literally enduring.
And Mikey, you've been in the community there since 1996. Can you give us a sense of the destruction on the island and what is it actually like in Maui?
I can't, because I've never seen anything like this in my life, and nobody on the island has ever seen anything like this in our lives. The death toll is far from what is reported, and we know that, but we understand that people who are recovering the bodies or the ashes have to do their due diligence, and DNA testing has to be done. So there's a lot ahead of us and a lot to deal with. And of course, the word on the street is that there's a lot of children involved, because on Tuesday, because of the high winds and the power outages, a lot of children stayed at home from school and some parents went to work, and you can imagine what happened. Yeah.
And Mikey, we're just looking at the pictures here and the devastation. It's just horrendous. And I know there's so many people still missing and unaccounted for. And one of your barmen, your bartenders, is still missing.
I just got word this afternoon that he has been found.
Oh,
his restaurant that he worked in is, thank God, him and his son have been found. So, yeah, a little bit of news, good news there for sure.
Oh, great. And you said there, obviously, there was a delay in even getting that news to you, to hearing. Was he okay? Is there a breakdown in communication? I know there was questions about the lack of warning about the fires coming.
People can say anything they want, but a fire of this nature happens so quickly. I'm not, qualified to say how it happened, but within 30 minutes, the whole 5 Mile area was engulfed in flames. So whether there was fire alarms or whether this or that happened, there's no blame right now. The job at hand is to work together, communicate with everybody, get aid to the people that need it, and start rehoming people who are homeless, who don't even, I spoke to my bank manager today, and her uncle and aunt took people in because they were being evacuated in Lahaina. They were having dinner with their cousins, and then they got evacuated, and they jumped in the car with their cousins, and they left both their cars at home. So now they could have driven out with their cars. So these are the things that we're dealing with right now. And communication is getting better. I think the people who live here are starting to understand what it takes to recover from that area. It is very toxic as well. And a friend of mine was standing nearby, probably 15 minutes from the site. And after 10 minutes, she said she felt physically sick by the air.
Are the communities pulling together? I'm sure they are, and everybody's just helping each other, taking people in, offering what they can.
Of course they are, and that's what we do, and that's what any community should do. I had a phone call from some lady from Clonmel who lives in San Francisco, and she's going to do an order on Amazon and mail it to Mulligan's on the Blue. We're going to coordinate it. But what we're looking for is things like toothbrushes, hygiene products, diapers. We're at the stage of tents now, camping gas, things like that. We're all in it together. We haven't coordinated all as a team. All the restaurants have pulled together. We have donation centers and we have drop-off centers, and we're slowly getting it together. But this is a long haul. This is just starting.
Yes, and of course it's great to hear the communities are pulling together. It's quite necessary at a time like this. You're in your house there, Mikey, and your house looks okay, but have you got an evacuation plan in case things take a turn for the worse?
The evacuation plan is take your passports and get the hell out of here. That's how it is. The fires have started to damp down. There is some winds forecasted for Tuesday and Wednesday, so fingers crossed that doesn't happen, because that was the biggest spread of the fire. Embers were flying over a mile apart with these 70, 80, 90 mile-an-hour winds. So we're on the south side. Lahaina's on the west side. There is a 30-mile difference between us. However, there's upcountry as well, which is like living in Ireland, and that's where the fires started originally. So there's a lot going on the island, an awful lot, as you can imagine.
Yeah, and Mikey, and it's great that you're all pulling together, and hope that we have seen the worst of it is now over. And you have set up a GoFundMe page. Do you want to tell people how they can help?
Sure. The GoFundMe page I set up myself. There is lots of GoFundMe pages. This one is pretty real. People have known me as a resident of 27, 28 years. And I have been involved in the pandemic, taking care of people and helping people out. So I decided this money will be in the GoFundMe. It will help in a couple of weeks, maybe with people getting accommodation, first month's rent, when we have a better idea of what is really needed in the community to help people who are absolutely homeless and without any money. So all my friends in Ireland have been very generous, and I thank everybody for that. And it takes a little bit, but it takes a village. And this is the village of the world.
Of course.
And if anybody, I don't want to publicize Mulligan's on the Blue, but that's the website. If people would kindly go to Mulligan's on the Blue, and there's a donate button there. €5 would help a lot. And it adds up. And we will make sure that money is properly spent. There will be no expenses for anybody, not even petrol money. And the only expense will be the 3% that GoFundMe take for credit card charges.
Great.
My mom is not even sure how to do it, and I walked her through it a little bit today because, you understand.
Yes, we certainly do.
Thanks for that, Mikey. Just for everyone who is looking for the link is GoFundMe/Irish Maui Relief Fund, if anyone wants to, and please do donate if you can.
Or Mulligan's on the Blue, log on there also. And Mikey, it's great that you're safe, your family is safe, and it's lovely to hear that your bartender and his family are safe as well. And thank you so much for joining us here in Ireland AM this morning.
And thank you for your caring. Appreciate it. Slán te.
Slán. Lots more still to come on Ireland AM. Stay with us.
We discussed post-holiday skincare earlier, and now Jennifer Rock is back to answer some of your questions.
And Well, we're going to talk about something in a while. Anyway, everyone's here in the studio going, you what? We're going to tell you in a few minutes. But we had lots of messages in, so we're going to get through as many as we can. Jennifer, let's get starting. This one, very interesting, because Anna says, I apply my SPF and it's a factor 50 sun cream, but then I apply my moisturiser, which is also factor 30. So am I only getting the 30, or are they both working in tandem?
Really common question, so great question, Anna. So I'd always say to apply your body moisturiser for sheer hydration first, and then whether it's your body or your face, always put your SPF on. That's your chosen SPF. Ideally, your 50 on last.
After,
and that
so she's
higher
doing
number,
it the wrong way around.
Yeah, exactly. And that's okay. Often people do so. But the brilliant news that she's really, truly trying to get SPF onto her skin. So SPF 50 lasts and allows to really reflect the rays and absorb the rays, whichever type SPF she's
So, Anna, so just do it the opposite way.
Exactly.
You're grand.
Sorted.
Cool.
Lovely. Carol says, hi, Jennifer. What is best to use on sunburned skin that has blistered?
So this is an interesting one. So first of all, with sunburned skin minus the blister, it's all about making sure you don't put oil on the skin, don't trap the heat in, let the heat escape as much as you possibly can. Try and get anti-inflammatory. Be it your old school aloe vera really has a lot of benefit. Like, there's still a lot to be said for those traditional devices. But when it's blistering, it really is about going to the local GP, the pharmacy, and making sure that you're treating it properly, because at that stage it's a wound, the potential underlying infection. So that's the medical part. And that's the interesting part with skincare always. There's a certain amount we can do at home to care for ourselves, and then at a certain point you definitely need a medic or a pharmacy.
Okay, Suzanne then says, I'm being heavily influenced to try IPL. Can you use it when you fake tan, and does it cause skin damage? Now tell us what IPL is.
Yeah.
And I wonder why she's been highly influenced.
So I absolutely adore IPL, just for the record. So IPL stands for, it's an acronym, stands for Intense Pulsed Light. It's essentially a treatment that you get done in a clinic, usually with a therapist or a nurse or a derm, whomever, and they apply this gel to the skin first and foremost. And the light itself, when it's placed on the skin, is either attracted to, it's called a chromophore or a target. It's attracted to your pigmentation, it's attracted to the water in your skin, or it's attracted to the redness in your skin. So if you have pigmentation, if you have redness, or if you really want that anti-aging element, it's a brilliant modality or brilliant treatment to receive. You can't have fake tan on whilst you get it done, simply because if you think about it, if I fake tan on the skin here, I'm trying to really tackle my pigmentation, which is the mottling that we often speak about. The light gets confused between the fake tan or the pigment. So to get the best results, no fake tan.
Clear.
And usually a 2 week, I will not apply fake tan for minimum 2 weeks prior to my IPL, and I get it done quite regularly, and the difference is undeniable.
How regularly would you get that done?
It depends on the skin. There's no denying it. For myself, for example, I'll get 3 done on a yearly basis, just to keep my skin at bay. It keeps any scarring I've had from spots in the past, pigmentation, it's reduced. So I'm generally a fan of it, and ensuring that it's the correct machine. So that's a whole different day segment. But going somewhere that really they specialise in that treatment is important.
I'm going to look that up when I get home. A question from Lisa then says, can you tell me the way to combat dark circles?
Oh, I do feel for Lisa, because I genetically have dark circles. It's just how I am built. So understanding the cause of it. So is it genetics? Is it dehydration? Is it allergy prone? Is it because the tissue around our eye area, as we know, is so delicate, from 35, 40 particularly onwards, we start to really notice a dip and a hollow in there because the bone is shrinking and many other reasons. So it really depends on why you have dark circles. My favourite treatment, following on from the IPL, my favourite treatment to ever have gotten done, now it's not something you can do over the counter, is a treatment called PRP. So it's essentially what people describe casually online like the vampire facial. So essentially it's your platelet-rich plasma treatment. You go to a nurse to get it done. A phlebotomist will take the blood out of your arm. Apologies if this is too gruesome for people pre-10 a.m, but it's scientifically proven to essentially, when they take out the blood from your arm, they put into a particular contraption, then put plasma and platelets back into your body, and your body regenerates itself. That is there is the before and afters. Look them up online.
But,
for dark circles.
That would probably cost a fortune. Is there any other
€100 at home? Sorry,
things to do at home maybe that she can help?
So if you really, really want to tackle it, definitely something, a couple €100, and you're done for 5 or 6 years. So for me, there's an investment, but it really works. Sometimes my fear is that people are spending a lot of money constantly on the dark circle area, and it's not really helping. So the answer to the short term or kind of more affordable option, absolutely, is going to be something like a vitamin A, C and E eye cream. Environ is probably my go-to eye cream. It's not the most affordable, you're talking €60-70, the smallest amount around the eye area, and you do see a difference in 12 weeks time. And concealer, if it really does bother you, then definitely a little bit of concealer. Sculpted by Amy is my go-to. I look like I'm alive at 5 in the morning. That is
that's what we need.
That's what we need, definitely do.
I saw Kim K got that done, the vampire facial. She does that. She's been posting about that.
It's the science is there. It truly works. For me, for example, I get it across. It's my own body regenerating itself, which I quite like. So it really helps, like what we call the nasolabial folds, dark circles. It just regenerates the skin. So actually, it's Professor Katrina Ryan's team that do it, who's often on this, Kate. Her team in the IDI are phenomenal.
Wow. Quickly, then Ursula said that a recommendation for a 13-year-old girl who's good skin but recently getting spots when you're getting to teenage years and getting spots. And it's so angst for teenagers when they get them. How can you stop and how can you cure them?
This is an interesting question. So for Ursula, I would say first and foremost, get her daughter into a regime. So cleansing in the morning and maybe like a nice lightweight moisturiser or like a serum, for example, with SPF. So cleanse, serum, SPF. Just get her into that regime while she's brushing her teeth and out the door. And then at night time, bringing in something like Dermalogica is renowned for its Clean Start range. It's a specific teenage range. There's lots of brands that are out there that are really coming through. For Exam Farmer is another UK-based brand, and it's all for teenagers. They're really affordable, active ingredients that aren't too harsh for their young skin. And then my last piece of advice as a parent of a 19, soon to be 20-year-old, having just gone through that time with Matthew, I think the key thing is when there's a line between what you can do at home versus they do need to go and speak to a doctor, because it really debilitates how they feel in themselves and so on and so forth. So
can we talk about this TikTok?
Yeah, you're done.
Because I was literally going, I could not believe this. Go on, tell everybody.
Yes, tell us about this. It's a TikTok trend we've seen. It's called period masking.
Yes, so it's called period blood face mask. It has 3.5 million TikTok searches. So it really is like a huge trend. So for anyone that's thinking, what is Jennifer Rock talking about? Can I explain it? So obviously we have a menstrual cycle. We put you have options of how you kind of manage yourself during your period. You can get a little menstrual cup. And so what women are doing is they're collecting their period into their menstrual cup as they normally do. But instead of disposing of it in the normal way, they're actually choosing to apply it to their face. And the reason for that, and I need to really stress this, the reason is they're trying to say it's similar to that PRP piece that we spoke about, which is the vampire facial, as you called it. But it's not similar insofar as that when your body is shedding your period every single month, it's shedding epithelial cells, it's pro-inflammatory, so it's actually having the slightly opposite effect where people are saying that, of course, when you're, my goodness, what our womb can do is phenomenal. Of course. And there should be no stigma attached with period, but just what we're choosing to do with it. There's no science there to say that it has any benefit anti-aging. And of course, our womb can, home a little baby and make create so many cells, but that science isn't quite there yet. So dermatologists are quite adamant that there's not enough science and it could have the opposite effect what people are claiming.
And could it do any harm to people?
Not yet, no. Sorry, when I say not yet, there's not enough studies for anything to be conclusive. It's not causing harm.
There's no proof that it will do anything for you. There's no proof that it won't.
Exactly.
So if you want to put the blood on your face,
why not?
Go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I find it bizarre because like we try to stay so positive around talking about periods and like destigmatizing, and then someone does something like this that actually isn't sanitary.
And that's the key part. So when it's been compared to treatments, which we've spoken about just a few minutes ago, where you go to a clinical environment, it's hygienically and it's sterile, that's totally different to what you might be doing at home. And look, so I think there's a lot more to be discovered before I absolutely put my name beside it. Not opposed to it, just need the science to back it up.
Well, I didn't think I was going to be talking about that when I came in this morning.
Well, there
Jennifer,
you go.
Thank you so much
Jennifer.
for that.
Hello, Accorda. Welcome back. If you have a weekend away or brunch with the girls coming up, and we love a bottomless brunch, we've got your wardrobe covered.
Do you know?
Oh, I do.
Oh, I'm telling you. Now, stylist Rob Condon joins us now with a selection of casual weekend wear. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. Yes, we've got lots of really cool casual weekend wear. And what's great about it is they're transitional pieces, so you'll be able to transition them into autumn, winter by maybe changing a jacket or accessories to make it work.
OK, our first model here, Daniela, let's have a look what she's wearing.
We are going with a co-ord. Co-ords are everywhere at the moment, and we've gone tone on tone with this. Tone on tone is also everywhere, and it's going to be everywhere for autumn, winter. And I think when you go tone on tone, it just makes something look a lot more expensive. It makes it look really classy, and this is what we've done with this morning. All of the clothes are available from the Casual Company. You can see with the top, it's a little bit oversized. It's A-line, so you're going to get lots of coverage. The back of it's a little bit longer as well, so you're getting coverage there. 3/4 length sleeves to it. And then at the top of it there, you've got the V neckline to it. There's also collars, which is bringing a little bit of a sports looks vibe to it. And then we've got the elasticated palazzo pant here. So you're going to get lots of space in them. There is pocket detailing to them also. but I think it's a really cool, casual look.
So
it's comfortable.
Is this sold as two?
It is. It's sold as two, but you could wear it as separate. So if you wanted to break it up, you could go with a printed blouse on the top, even a white shirt with it would look great.
Yeah.
And then we have sandals here. So they're a strappy gold sandal.
This looks super comfortable, and I love to hear elasticated pants,
Yeah.
especially if I am going to bottomless brunch. An elastic waist is always you know.
Exactly. It is. It's really comfortable. Gold shoes there. So you can see if you wanted to dress this up, if you wanted to go with a gold heel with this, it'd look great. I also think you could bring this to your workwear wardrobe by changing it around.
Totally.
Going with a pointed heel with this, maybe a camel coat with it, as you get a little bit more into autumn, winter.
Now, what's a claw clip?
We've got the claw clip at the back here, so we're seeing
What's
lots.
this for the back of the hair?
Yeah, so we're seeing lots of hair accessories for autumn, winter, and this is just matching back in with the gold sandals there, with the gold claw clip.
It's a claw
Yeah.
clip now.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's so casual. It's nice, isn't it?
Exactly.
Okay,
but
Courtney's
something
up
you can
next.
dress up as well. So we've gone with denims with this look here in Courtney. So we've gone a little bit more casual with this, perfect for a casual weekend away, or maybe a brunch with the girls. We've got this top here, so you can see it's a boat neckline to the top. It's a 3/4 length sleeve to it. Really great colour, and we're seeing lots of this colour coming through for autumn, winter. You can see the peplum detail.
Love the peplum.
Yeah, it's great. And what's very clever about it is it's shorter at the front, longer at the back. So you're getting coverage in the right places with this.
It's actually quite high at the front.
Yeah, it is. It's quite high at the front. And then we've got the jeans here, so you can do the pocket detail into their drawstring. So a little bit of a sports looks vibe to this. And they are a slim jeans, so they're skinny jeans. So I think with this top, you want to go with a skinny leg. You don't want to go with flares because you've already got the peplum. Yes, exactly. But if you wanted to change it around as well, I think a white pair of cigarette pants with that would really dress it up and look great as well as an alternative. But a great pair of jeans there. And then we've gone with the little slip-on loafers, which are a really cool pair. You can see the gold buckle detailing as well to them.
Yeah, they're quite reminiscent of another brand I've seen before. They're gorgeous.
Yes, exactly. And they're going to go with so many different things in your wardrobe. Even going with a pair of trousers with those loafers, flared trouser, they're going to look great. You're going to get so much wear.
Dress it up a bit.
Yeah.
You just add a little pair of earrings?
Yeah, just a little simple but chic pair of earrings there with diamante detailing.
Okay, lovely stuff. Thank you very much, Danielle, or Courtney there. Kira's up next in this jumpsuit.
Yes,
this comes in all different colours.
Yeah, we're going from denim to jumpsuits with this. We've gone with the navy jumpsuit, pocket detailing to it. Really casual piece.
Like, what could be more comfortable than that?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, seriously, if you got, like, if you're, imagine now you get out of that dress and you just get into that and you just feel fab.
I would. I'd feel super comfortable in that now. It looks soft as well.
It is. It's a really soft material, really casual, pocket detailing to it. We've left it as a blank canvas this morning to show that there is so much you can do. Throwing it with a pair of trainers has got to keep it really casual. But if you were to belt this to the middle, maybe go with a gold belt, you could definitely dress this up. A pair of gold sandals with it, like a heel. I think you could definitely dress it up. Or a little retro leather jacket over the shoulders as well.
Okay.
Or keep it really casual, going with a pair of trainers like this. We've gone with the full white trainer there. I think it does come in various different colours, and they've really similar ones to them also.
Okay, cool. That's lovely. Thank you very much, Kira. And finally, another co-ord set here.
Yes, we're back to co-ords, and I love this look here. We've gone with khaki green with this one here. Really great piece. I think this would be a great piece for travelling in. It's a lightweight material.
You're dead right. I could totally see the airport pics in this outfit. That's what you're going for.
Exactly, for Instagram.
long haul flights.
Yeah. Exactly. So
Far
another
off long
co-ord
places.
available from the Casual Company. You can see V-neck line to this. Really casual, really soft and comfortable. Again, you could wear this as separates if you wanted to. So with the top, you could go with the jeans we saw a little earlier on, or with the trousers. They're an elasticated trouser. You're going to get so much wear out of them. Again, pocket detail into these, but a really casual, comfy and cool look.
And this is sold as the two again?
It is. It's sold as the two, but you could match it in with
you just put a little pair of runners with it.
Yeah, exactly. Throw on the little pair of trainers with it. But again, I think as you get a little bit more into autumn, winter, and you're trying to layer this up, use it as a layering piece, put a denim jacket with it, even a kind of oversized coat, trainers, or even you could go with a boot with this.
Yeah.
And jewellery?
And then with the jewellery, we've gone with a really simple necklace there. I think with the neckline to this, you want to go kind of simple and chic with that gold-plated necklace. And then we've gone with the medium-sized hoop earring, just when Daniela pulled her hair back there, you can see they're just a really simple piece, but going back in with that gold jewellery. And gold and khaki always goes great.
They do. And do you think you could dress this one up?
I do. I definitely think you could dress it up if you go with a pair of heels, maybe tuck the top in a little bit, and go with maybe a blazer over your shoulders. You definitely could.
You couldn't.
You could! We'll show it the next time dressed up. We'll
there
do it
you
a
go,
different
do
way.
that. Rob, thank you so much for that.
Rob.
Thank you. Now, still to come, Deric's mad about murals. He's exploring
mad.
Waterford's Street Art Festival.
Stay with us. We'll be back in a few.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, Deric is said to have an art attack in the Daisha County this morning.
Looking forward to seeing what you have in store. Deric, Inishtu and Kertha.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. We're having the most fantastic morning down here in the Daisha County. Of course, the Waterford Walls Festival now in full swing. Gabe McGuinness, the festival manager, is with us. Gabe, I am so impressed by what's happening here in Waterford. Tell us about the festival itself.
Yeah, so the festival was started about 9 years ago by a group of passionate local people who wanted to reimagine the way some of the vacant and derelict sites in Waterford were and just create a more unique visual city. So I suppose some of the inspiration probably came from international festivals happening around the world, but a lot of the inspiration would have come from placemaking, international collaboration and community engagement. And as the festival has kind of evolved over the years and professionalised, that's still very much a core of what we do.
And it's transformed some amazing spaces here in Waterford City, really.
Absolutely, yeah. We've got a lot of big buildings around, and you can see yourself from walking around this morning. It's just everywhere you go on the streets, there's something happening, there's energy in there, and it's really great, I think, for Waterford to have, yeah.
We have 200 murals, over 2,000 cans of spray paint being used right across the week. It's incredible.
It is. It's no easy feat, but there's an excellent team of people involved here, and the artists could not be nicer. They all arrive. They're all having a great time. We've got the sun shining today, so it's all going very, very well.
Good news all around for the Daisha County. We've over 30 artists, some from home and abroad. Talk us through some of the Irish artists that we have here displayed.
So we have starting today, we have Dan Leo, who would certainly be a big Irish favourite. We've got some of the people might know Aches as well. Aches is a very big deal. We're very happy to have Aches again this year. We've got Niall O'Loughlin behind us. Yeah. Niall is a good friend of the festival. Niall's been here a lot of times over the years. A lot of good time with Niall, and it's lovely to have him back again.
And Joe Caslin does some great work as well.
Joe Caslin does some amazing work. We have Joe Caslin joining us for a panel talk later on in the week, and really looking forward to having Joe back. I always have a lot of fun with Joe, and it's great to have him down again.
International artists, we met some of them this morning. We had George Rose all the way from Australia. We had who else do we have? Mr. Copy,
Mr. Copy, Emily Ding, Slim Savant. The list goes on. So, like you said, it's about 14 international artists, and we had 900 applications this year. They came from all over the world, and as you can imagine, it's very difficult to whittle it down.
Very hard to whittle down. And of course, all this wouldn't happen without Waterford County Council and City Council.
100%. It's amazing to have the support from them. We have support from over 40 funders and sponsors this year, including the Arts Council, Waterford Council, and our festival partner sponsor, Riders Tears, as well.
All right, so speaking of artists, we've got one such here, all the way from Poland. Good morning to you, Magda.
Good morning to you, Deric.
You're here around 20 years, is that right?
Exactly, 20 years.
So you're practically a Waterford woman.
I am a local girl.
Tell us about when you started as a street artist.
Actually, first of all, I was all-the-time artist, so always I was creating, but on a different scale. 8 years ago, when first time I started cooperating with Waterford Walls, I started using different scale, bigger scale, different medium, and that really attracts me.
And do you think attitude has changed over the last 10 years?
Totally, because you're using different mediums, so your body, even positioning your body language, even how you interpret your work and how you would like to show to different public. That's actually another thing.
And where are you displaying, by the way?
different public.
So where are you displaying your art?
My art will be on Stephen Street this year,
Street,
so I didn't start yet. I will be also mentoring with...
But it's a proper workout, I believe, as well.
Oh, totally.
Yeah,
So proper paint, proper people and proper design.
Well, we're going to be, speaking of design, we're going to be putting Ireland AM on the Waterford walls here this morning. So tell us, what were you using here?
That's your first time, so you have to remember in every single can you have two types of paint, so you have to always shake so well. Exactly, and you can dance with that.
I've never done this before, actually.
And then, because you see, when you're drawing, when you're using pencil, you're actually using those two fingers. So when you paint, you see?
There we go, here we go.
And be careful, go a little bit...
And do we go nice and thick on it?
Absolutely.
Okay, guys, are you watching this back in studio? This is really cool. This is my first time ever doing this. This is amazing. Wow.
And if you will change color, do it. You will have bigger fun because magic will start again.
Okay. And like there is a technique to it as well, isn't there?
Absolutely. You see, everyone have a different energy. Everyone in different way using hands.
We're going to finish this off. We still have the M to do. Where can we find out more online, by the way?
Wallsproject.ie.
Okay, there we go. We're going to finish it off, guys. It's a work in progress. Back to you guys in the studio.
Wow.
Thank you, Deric.
Look at that.
We'll be checking that's not rubbed off later on. Listen, before we go, we have to say a big thank you to our producer, Gordon, who is his last day in gallery this morning. He's been with us on the show for a long time now. So, Gordon, you're going to be missed. What Ireland AM will miss will be the 6 o'clock shows again. So, Gordon, thank you so much for everything you've done for all the team here in Ireland AM, and we wish you the best luck in the future. We have a great show lined up tomorrow. We'll see you then. Have a great day.